Hey everyone, I am Jennifer Stroman and I love all things magical, unicorns, rainbows, glitter, mermaids, you name it, I love it. And my mission is to help women unleash their inner sparkle while allowing their authentic light to shine. And today I'm going to talk to you about 3 things that you need to know about fear. And what I love about this is that everyone's scared of something. Everyone's got fear about something. And so I think this is going to be a great topic. So if you're catching me on the replay, comment replay below. If you're a first-time watcher, first-time viewer, please tell me you're a first-time viewer below so that I can come back and welcome you. Please comment first-time viewer below. Guys, as you're hopping in, I see so many people. Laura, Ashley, Amanda, hello, Miranda, hello, Bobby. Let me know you are here. Tell me where you are watching from. Drop me a unicorn if you are watching live. So I'm going to talk to you about 3 things that you need to know about fear. What I love about this topic is that everyone has got some kind of fear. There's something you're scared of. There's something that you can't face. There's something that maybe you're dealing with. Maybe there's a bunch of fears that are going on in your life. Everyone's got fear, right? If you struggle with some type of fear, raise your hand. Let's see how many raised hands I can get up in here. If you have something that you are scared of doing or you have some type of fear, I want to see some hands raised. Now, if you think that you are fearless, hashtag fearless below. We're going to talk about that a little later in this live, but I want to cover 3 things that you really need to know about fear because I don't think that we think of fear as in depth as we really should. I don't think we think of a lot of things in depth like we really should, right? So the first thing is fear can be so uncomfortable, right? Like it's crippling, it's debilitating for some of you. How many of you have had a fearful situation or you've been scared of something and it just made you sick? How many of you have gotten sick? Do you have the sick emoji? Like gotten sick because you have been scared to do something or scared of something. Maybe it's in your head, like you get very, very scared. If you've ever had a situation that has just made you sick, drop me that sick face emoji below, because fear can really do that to you, right? Hey, Nicolette. Hey, Melissa. Hey, Linda. Oh, Linda, a new viewer. So glad to have you here. So, guys, hey, Chris. I think my daughter just got home. So, fear can be pretty bad, and eliminating it would actually be equivalent to you taking your home alarm system down. Okay, it's actually, or setting it off for that matter. Like if you take it down and you don't want to use it anymore, and you know, like you might as well just open that door, because your fear is actually going to, it sets off the alarm for you. It tells you, hey, something's going on, something's wrong. Have you ever had, I know we do, and my daughter comes in late at night and then you hear it like beep, beep, beep until she puts the code in. If she doesn't put the code in, you know, we're going to be woken up at 2 o'clock in the morning because this loud alarming sound goes off, and the alarm is annoying as all get out. But if we didn't have some type of fear, we wouldn't have an alarm system for our body. Make sense? Like it is letting you know that there's something wrong. So there's 3 things that I'm going to cover that you need to know about that. Like, why do we have that alarm system? Is it a good thing, a bad thing? Like, what is that all about? How do some people say that they're fearless? How are some people not fearless? Why is everybody scared? Okay, number 1, fear is absolutely healthy. Okay? Comment that below. Fear is healthy. Just put healthy below. Comment healthy below. Fear is healthy, guys. Fear is hardwired in our brains, and it's for good. It's for the good. For instance, well, you know what? I'll get into that in just a second. So feeling fear is not abnormal in any way. Hey, Sarah, it's not a sign of weakness. And the capacity to be afraid is just normal brain function. Okay? So having fear is healthy. Having a lack of fear would actually be a sign of some type of brain damage or something going on, or having an issue with the brain itself. So fear is absolutely 100% healthy. So if you have some type of fear in your life, guess what? Take your pulse, you're alive, you're healthy, you're good to go. Okay? It's totally okay to have some fear in your life. All right? Hey, Patricia. All right, so number 2, the next thing that you need to know about fear is that fear is not as automatic as you think it is. okay? It's not as automatic. It's actually part instinct, part learned, and part taught. Now, what do I mean? I'm gonna break this down for you. So part of the instinct is, for instance, pain, right? Like, and some people, very few, but have like no pain receptors or have really high pain tolerance. It's a little different. But this is a great example, is pain. Like if you touch the stove and it hurts, like you know not to go there and you might be scared of it. So if there's something that's hurt you, or for instance, someone who's gone through a really bad divorce is like, I'm never getting married again because it was so painful. So they have that fear of going through it again. Does that make sense, guys? If that makes sense, drop me number 1 below. I want to be unhealthy. Girl, I get it. I get it. So there's that instinctive part of fear. So you're not automatically getting scared. It's actually, you have this pain associated with it, which is what creates the fear. Make sense, guys? If it does, drop me a 1. Then there's the learned part of it. And the learned is like, let's say that you had a near death experience, or like you almost drowned, and now you've learned to be scared of water, right? Like you almost drowned, so now you're scared of water. Makes sense, guys? If that makes sense, drop me number 2 below. So if it's learned, it's your fear is coming from something that you learned in your life. It's not something that just happens. You learned it. You learned that if you get in the water and like you almost drown, like you don't want to go back in the water. It makes sense. And then the third part is that you're taught, right? So it's something that, okay, best way for me to give it to you straight is if something cultural happens and it's with a certain race or a certain group of people or a group of social people, and something bad happens to you. And all of a sudden you have taught yourself to be scared of this group of individuals, when it's not all of them. It's not all these group of women. It's not all these group of, like purple dinosaurs that are coming at you, but Barney did something. And so now that Barney did something, you don't like any purple dinosaurs. Like that's where that taught part comes in. So fear is not as automatic as you think. Okay. So even though it is our alarm system, some of it is taught and some of it is learned and some of it is instinctive. If that makes sense, drop me number 3 below. So comment below, automatic, not as automatic, okay? Not as automatic, okay? So we've got fear is healthy, and the second one is not as automatic. So fear is not as automatic as you think, okay? And the last thing that you need to know about fear is that fear actually will dictate the actions that you take. And what do I mean by this? So what fear is going to do is it's going to tell you what you're going to do next. You hear fight or flight and all those things. Well, actions actually motivate what you're going to do, what type that you're going to fall under. First you freeze, like some people freeze and they start to like, oh my gosh. I'll give you a perfect example and I'll break these down with an example. You get an email saying that there's going to be layoffs in your office. Okay, so you're going to have layoffs in your office and you freeze, and all of a sudden you're like, oh my gosh, they're going to lay people off. Like, oh my gosh, like, and you start to have this fear. Okay, that's the freeze effect that's going to dictate what you do next. The next thing that you might choose is you're going to either have fight or flight. What is the difference in this situation? Well, the fight is you're going to be like showing up to your boss's office and you're like, you do not need to let me go because I do everything in this office, and you start to fight even though this may not even pertain to you. Or it's flight and you start like Googling and you get on, what is that? I just lost the name. But like you go look on the business sites and you're starting to try to figure out where you're going to go find another job. You're looking in the classifieds, because you're already in the flight. So you freeze and it does dictate your actions. So you freeze, you start thinking about the fear. Now you're like fight or flight. And then the last thing that you do is your fear is it gets completely overwhelming and you start to turn it into fright. Now you're like, oh my gosh, like if fight or flight doesn't come in, you start to just not do anything. You're overwhelmed with it. You're going to complain about it. You're going to talk about it. You're going to dwell on it, but you don't do anything. So all you do is just stay in this fright mode. Okay, so those are the 4 that you get into for actions that you take. So fear does dictate whether or not you are going to have this, I'm going to freeze and I'm going to think about it, or am I going to fight for my job, or am I going to flee, or, what am I going to do? So fear actually dictates what you do. So comment dictates down below. So fear does dictate your actions, okay? And of those three things, like I was looking at this article earlier and there were so many different listed there, and I was just fascinated by all the things that you think about fear and things that I didn't know. And here's three of them that, I mean, I sort of knew, but I really didn't know. So if you'd like to see the other ones or see the article that I read, feel free to reach out to me. I'll send you the article. But one of the biggest things that I learned is that being fearless does not mean that you don't have fear. It doesn't mean that you're eliminating fear, because I just explained to you, it's healthy. You're going to have these things. Things are going to happen naturally. You're taught these things, right? Like you have learned behaviors. You have fears. Have anybody ever had a fear of like something bad happened to them and they don't want it to happen again? So you have this fear of it ever happening again, right? So being fearless doesn't mean that you're eliminating the fear at all, okay? I want that to be clear. Like it's still there. But what being fearless is actually means that you know that there's fear, but you leverage it. You leverage the fear. That's what fearless really is. It's not that there is no fear, unless you do have some brain issues. It really is that you know how to leverage that fear, how to push forward through that fear, how to face that fear and overcome that fear. It's a way to leverage. I love that word, leverage. Comment leverage below. You leverage your fear. That's how you become fearless, okay? So, like I said, if you want to see the other things that you need to know about fear and kind of learn a little bit more about why you react the way you do, feel free to reach out to me. I'll send you the article. But I also want to tell you that I'm talking about fear a lot in my group this week, and I'm rolling out a lot of stuff in there. And one of the biggest things that I'm super excited about is I'm going to be doing a 3-day Face Your Fears challenge inside my Unicorn Lifestyle group. So if you would love to check that out, feel free to reach out to me or feel free to comment group below, and we'll get you added there. But I think that realizing that you can be fearless, like you can leverage your fear, you can go through and realize, okay, I feel this way because I use the example of being through a divorce and it hurting. So, you know, I've been divorced before. I understand that this fear is there. I understand that it's a learned fear. I understand that I'm going to freeze for a second and flip out about this stuff. But how do I leverage that to my benefit? How do I push past that? And that's really what I'm going to talk about in my Unicorn Lifestyle and with that 3-day Face Your Fears challenge. So, you know, feel free to reach out if you want to be a part of that. But before I close, I just want to say, as much as fear is normal, you can push past it. And it is just a temporary feeling. One thing I learned this past year is that as much fear as I had come in my way, I had to just go through it. I had to push through it and find my way on the other side of it. And that's when the magic really happens. It really happens on the other side of fear. So if you don't take anything from tonight, I want you to take that. Pushing through your fear and overcoming that fear is what is going to bring you the magic. So if you found any value in this, feel free to share, hit the share button, share it with your friends. And I hope that y'all have an amazing night. And guys, like, do some research about what fear is, because you can really leverage it to your benefit. Trust me. All right. Bye guys.